Hello, BookTube. It was a temperate day today and sunny, and I had a sleepy puppy. And you know what all those things added up to? I gave myself permission to go back to the Brattle Bookshop. Those of you who are new to the channel, first of all, welcome. There are a whole bunch of you who are new. You will get the lay of the land by reading the comments field. But the thing you will notice quickly about the little community that has developed around this channel is, first of all, that all of my subscribers are insane. they look at a 40-minute video and they say, "Why is it so short?" I make a video saying, do I have lurkers on this channel? Why don't you step forward and stop being lurkers? And what do I get? A normal channel would get silenced. Lurkers wouldn't care what the person on the other end of the camera said. And a normal channel might also get a whole bunch of people saying, you know, you're right, I shouldn't lurk anymore. I'll just make comments from now on. What did I get? Lurker after lurker after lurker coming forward in emails and texts and Voxer and saying, "Hi, I'm a lurker. Just want to say hi. Going back to lurking now." If you're new to this channel, you will notice right away we have a lot of fun. So welcome. And if you're new to this channel, the Brattle Bookshop is a used bookstore here in Boston. I'm located in Boston, and it's 3 stories. It's an old building in downtown Boston, and it is full of books, just crammed full. And the stock turns over all the time. And the first and second floors are just ordinary used books organized by subject, and the third floor is slightly more collectible stuff, slightly higher price tag if you want to go in for a Christmas gift or something like that. And as I mentioned many times before, that alone would make the Brattle a great used bookstore. But in addition to that, the Brattle also has a lot next door where a building should be. The whole lot next door is theirs, and they have sale carts out there. $1, $3, and $5 books. No organization and constant turnover. So the lot is a whole separate experience. It's a whole separate shopping experience. And you can do wonders out there. For $20, you can come away with an armload of great books. And I went to the Brattle today. I didn't want to push my luck. I didn't want to be gone for too long. So I just shopped out I usually just shop out in the bargain lot. And my shopping in the bargain lot was curtailed because quite a few of you have fallen asleep at the wheel, and I am running low on Brattle credit. And I am absolutely not going to go to the Brattle and spend money on books, which I need like a hole in the head. So I only spent my credit. And perhaps you all need to get together, find out who's drawing the short straw this week, and refill those coffers. But in the meantime, I want to show you what I got, because I got the usual variety of the Brattle. A couple of hardcovers. We can start with those. First one is the hardcovers are both things that I got and read and liked when they originally came out, in my normal way, getting them in the mail for free, like a normal person. And then they went away. They aren't part of my collection anymore. So when I found them for dirt cheap, I got them both. And the first one is this. It's Between Friends, a collection of the letters of Mary McCarthy and Hannah Arendt. An odd couple in the literary world, and yet they were close friends. There was an odd balance. I'm not going to belabor the obvious here, but Hannah Arendt was a worrier. She was an ingrown toenail. She was a deep introvert. She was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. A deep thinker, a wise and deep person. And Mary McCarthy was far more of a reactor, far more outgoing, funnier prose, flashier prose, faster prose. If you gave both of them, let's say, for instance, an editor and commentary gave both of them similar assignments, he would get something back from Mary McCarthy the next day, and it would be joyously readable. And it would be 2 years before he heard back from Hannah Arendt. He would get back something from her in 2 years, and it would be immortal. It would win literary awards. and I think that they both knew it. I'm pretty sure that was an unspoken but known factor between the two of them, that they were both foremost denizens of the literary world, but operating on slightly different levels. Mary McCarthy wrote a couple of novels that in any sane world would always be in print. They would be immortal. They are fantastic. And she's in the Library of America, and she will continue to be in the Library of America. Hannah Arendt wrote, of course, Eichmann in Jerusalem, but she also wrote other things, longer and more serious works that are also incredible. So they're both immortal, and that's comforting in a way. And this is a collection of their letters, their correspondence, which is old. This is old world snail mail correspondence. So those of you who maybe are too young to remember snail mail will find it a little bit strange. You read a letter collection of old world snail mail correspondence, and you are forever reading people saying, "I'm sorry, I'm late responding. I've had this letter for a while," etc., etc. And those were just mannerisms of the form, and it's great to read them again. I read this when it first came out. I was tremendously impressed by the curation, what we now call the curation of it. Because it's a boring looking book, but inside it's two minds that are just alive to literature and reading. And to each other. It's the friends part between friends is very much present in this book in a low-key way, but very much present. So I was thrilled to find it. I didn't think I would ever see it again. I had a copy and I got rid of it. And then the other hardcover is something I've mentioned on the Brattle before, about the Brattle before, which is that there's a karma to the outside sale lot. Books are bought. People sell them in boxes to the Brattle. And sometimes those books stay together, and sometimes even months later, after many, many relocations from house to basement to sale to pricing table to sale lot, they still manage to stay together. So that sometimes when you're out in the sale lot, you will see themes. And the key is never to rush those or to try and bully them. You don't go to the sale lot saying, "I really want the new Brandon Sanderson. I want a copy of Words of Radiance in hardcover." And then if I don't see it, then the lot has failed me. You do that and the lot will fail you. Instead, you have to be sensitive to what you're seeing. And the other day here at Hyde Cottage, I got lovely 2 trade paperbacks, new reprints of the poetry of T.S. Eliot. And then I was recently at the Brattle, and there was a copy of Young Eliot, a terrific biography of Eliot for the first half of his life, that I read. I got it the normal way from a publisher, and then my copy disappeared, as so many of my copies do. I was tremendously impressed by the book, even though I have never really liked Eliot's poetry. And today I got my final nudge. When I saw the Young Eliot, I thought, okay, the combination of those beautiful trade paperbacks and Young Eliot at the Brattle means that in 2019 I will revisit T.S. Eliot. It was long overdue to do it anyway. I will do it in 2019. And today was just the final thing, almost directed at me personally. This is Words Alone by Dennis Donoghue. This is his. It's a weird book. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It's a memoir, and it's extremely open and personal, and almost impressionistic. But it is largely about T.S. Eliot. It is a lifetime. It's the account of a lifetime emotional encounter with one author. Dennis Donoghue being who he is, there's also a huge amount of scholarship and a huge amount of erudition in these pages, but mainly this is an intensely personal book, and you might not think that. You might think, if you just looked at it, that it's a literary critic's study of one author, but it's more than that. It's suffused with him, with Donoghue, and I was tremendously impressed by it when I read it originally. This is like 20 years old, and now I was tremendously impressed with it, and the whole time that I was tremendously impressed with it 20 years ago, I was thinking, well, I'm impressed with this despite the fact that it's about someone whose writing I don't like. And now, in 2019, I'm going to read it with a new eye towards maybe learning to like Eliot, seeing if it's possible. So those were the 2 hardcovers, and they were both well timed. And then a bunch of paperbacks that I want to show. First one is the paperback I see regularly. I also see ratty old hardcovers regularly, and at flea markets and yard sales, you will see ratty old hardcovers too. It's an old book from 1920 or something like that, and it's still rock solid. I love it, and I don't have a copy, and now I do. I found a nice, handy trade paperback. This is by H.H. Scullard, and this is From the Gracchi to Nero, his what became a standard textbook of Roman history, from the Gracchi brothers, who started social upheavals that eventually rippled out to include Marius and Sulla and Julius Caesar and the end of the Republic and the rise of the empire. Well, they are connected, believe it or not, to the empire that they did not envision. And then the early empire. So, from Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar all the way to Nero. And the book is wide-ranging, covers not just the people, but also the society and the wars and the commerce and whatnot. And it's well written. It's a nice, rock solid book of Roman history, one of the ones you need to have in your basic Roman history collection before you get into specifics. And I've had it on and off, but I always manage to get rid of it. Somebody asked me for what's a nice solid old world Roman history, I send them this. Now I found a nice trade paperback, won't take up much room on the shelf. And then another one, I found a trade paperback in somewhat ratty condition, and I'm happy to have it in ratty condition because, as I mentioned with my last Brattle Mail haul, maybe if I have a copy in ratty condition, I won't be tempted to constantly get rid of it by sending it to people. I wouldn't send this to somebody. It's not in good enough condition. And if it's my only copy, then when somebody says, do you have a copy of this book, I will say what I should always say, which is, no, I don't, but I will find you one. And then go and do that. As opposed to constantly looking for key books on my shelves and not finding them because I have sent off my only copy. And it's this, Stephen Jay Gould, The Panda's Thumb. Probably his best known. He wrote a shelf full of collections of the ruminative essays that he wrote for Natural History magazine for just forever, on all kinds of scientific subjects. He was a wonderful person, a wonderful science popularizer, even though he was the smartest person in the world. You wouldn't think that such a person would be good at popularizing, but he was also a beloved teacher and a very skillful one at Harvard. So he knew how to do that sort of thing. And amazingly, he could do it in a classroom, he could do it in person, and he could also do it on the printed page. And these essays, as a result, are wonderful. And I love them all. I love all the volumes that he did. Bully for Brontosaurus is just incredibly good. Dinosaur in a Haystack, oh my God, what a wonderful book. But Panda's Thumb, for me, like for a lot of people, was an introduction to the magic of this author. So I was so happy to find it in a slightly battered trade paperback that I will reinforce this and recover it. I will clean it so that it will do perfectly well as my own copy of this book. And then when I find other copies, they can go to other people. And this one can stay with me. In fact, right here in this room. So I found a trade paperback of The Panda's Thumb. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun 20 minutes to clean this up and make it indestructible. And then it will just be mine. And of course, I will reread it. And then another trade paperback. I have a hardcover of this with a dust jacket that I had to rejigger to make it work because it was kind of ugly. And I found the trade paperback of the book in perfect condition. I couldn't leave it behind for $1. And it's this. It's W. Jackson Bates' biography of John Keats, in a big trade paperback. This is in perfect condition, like the day that it was put on the shelf at Crocs and Bertanos or whatever. And it is, to my mind, the best Keats biography that has ever been written. And I find Keats fascinating and sometimes a bit annoying the way biographers pussyfoot around some of the obvious realities of his life, but Bates doesn't do that. So, and boy, oh boy, this is a magisterial, I know that word gets tossed around a lot, but this is a magisterial biography. This is every single aspect of every single reading, of every single shading, of every single part of Keats's life. So this is the whole thing. It's not a keyhole through which we look at our author sweating and coughing while writing great poetry. Instead, it's a world. I can't recommend it highly enough. I don't know that W. Jackson Bates' biography of Keats is still in print. I'd be horrified if it wasn't, but I don't know if this or his biography of Samuel Johnson are still in print. But the thing that I usually say once I lament that this book is no longer in print is, if it's not in print and you fancy that you want a copy, let me know and I will find you one. And I'm not going to stop saying that. This is a double, technically. I was kind of thinking that I would hold on to the trade paperback and get rid of my hardcover. One way or another, when you hear me praise older stuff like this on this channel that maybe isn't in print anymore, do let me know if you're seriously interested. I can certainly help you to find it. 2 sets of eyes are better than 1. But this is, of course, I mean, it's ridiculous to say, but it's, of course, an enormous recommendation. This is a great biography. And then the last thing I got is a mass market paperback. I've mentioned on this channel before that I'm sort of drifting away from reading mass market paperbacks. I find them a little bit less convenient than big trade paperbacks like this. I think maybe your eyesight deteriorates a little when you're 28. But I'm still well able to read a mass market paperback, and sometimes they really do fit the bill. Sometimes they fit exactly where nothing else does for convenience sake. And that's what this is going to do. This is going to be a jacket pocket book. that I had it. I've had it over and over again, but I got rid of all of my mass markets of this author in favor of trade paperbacks or fancy hardcovers. And it's this. It's Anthony Trollope. In the Oxford World Classics, this is the Oxford World Classics version of his Barchester Towers, which is the second of his Barchester novels and his most popular book by far, and a tremendous comic success. This is a wonderful novel, just wonderful. In fact, people often ask me, Trollope wrote so much, and I hear people praise him, including you. I hear plenty of people praise him. Where do I start? And I often tell them either start with The Warden or start with Barchester Towers. They are an easy way into the world of Trollope. They're not so dauntingly huge as some of the longer books that he wrote. But I love this novel. I already know that I do. And I love this edition. This editor does a wonderful job with the notes at the back and the introduction. And I don't have this. So what I'm going to do is just reinforce this mass market and stick it in my shoulder bag. I just finished a novel in my shoulder bag. So I temporarily, the little slot where a mass market paperback would go, but where a trade paperback would not fit, will be this to finish out the year. So that is it. That was my Brattle mail haul today, my Brattle Book-Haul. And Between Friends, the letters of Mary McCarthy and Hannah Arendt. There's a bit of an in-joke lurking in there, but that's okay. And then Words Alone, Dennis Donoghue's in personal study of T.S. Eliot. Lots of biography of Eliot, lots of appreciation of and analysis of his verses. So be part of my Eliot reclamation project in 2019. Then From the Gracchi to Nero, Scollard's classic book. Those of you who are familiar with history have probably seen it in a million different editions. It's worth having. It's worth consulting. And now I have a copy to do both. And then The Panda's Thumb in a slightly battered trade paperback that I will rescue, and then it will be mine. And W. Jackson Bates' epic biography of John Keats, just the Keats book to start with. Certainly, you could easily stop there as well. And lastly, Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope in the Oxford World Classics, because heresy of heresies, I know the Oxford World Classic Trollopes are better than the Penguin. So I saw the mass market and I grabbed it. It was $1, so I will reinforce it and walk around with it. so that was my Brattle trip this morning. It was wonderful, wonderful fun to ruminate around on those outside carts when I'm not freezing to death. And then I came back to a happy bean. We went for a nice antic walk where she got to scream at construction workers. And that is it for now. That was a little bit of used books to break up the monotony of your day. But I will be back. Don't you worry. Thank you, BookTube.